Hi everyone. So today I'm going to explain a scenario. So the scenario is like I am a community user. So I am logging to the experience site. So it's through the user verification method. So the user will have a contact record associated. So since it's a community user, in that contact record I have three status fields. So contact status, account status, and user status. So all the three status fields will have a standard tick list values of new, pending, working, and completed. So based on the status values, for example, if the status is a pending for account status field, so it should show a different message. Likewise, for contact, if it is new, there will be a message, as well as for user, if the status is working, there will be a different message. So all those messages has been configured under the metadata. So you can see completed account status, completed contact status, completed user status. So here I have these parameters which I have configured. So if it is a completed account status, then this message all required account status setup or lifecycle activities has been completed. This is for account status and the status is for completed. So likewise I have done for all the status. So for all the four pick list values for each three status fields, I have done messages. So the scenario is something like so whenever a user has a conversation with the agent, he can make a request. Like he will request for account, then the account message which we have stored, for example account, he requests. So it needs to go to the user and check the status of the contact record. So the user associated contact record and what is the status of the account. So account is a pending, so it should go to the pending account and it should display the message what is present in that. Likewise, if it is a user, and it should go to the contact and again check the status of the user status in the contact and it should display the message which is present here in the metadata. So what I initially thought is like in normal agent force, so we will have an agent. So if the user types account, so I will go and have an action to get the message and I'll display. So that's the normal way which even I also thought, and it's had a discussion and try to implement in that way. But since it's a static message, so there's nothing going to be changed in the message. So I thought of like, why should we go with the action inside an Agentforce? Why can't we get the message so during the conversation starting before itself and store in the messaging session record, so that when user requests for account or a contact or if it is a user, so it can dynamically display the informations from the variable in the messaging session object. So how I have done this, so even I'm also not sure 100% whether it's an optimized way of approach. So the main reason why I have done this approach is to reduce the credit consumption. So since it's a static message, why should I go for an action to retrieve the informations, so which I'm able to retrieve the details and store it in the messaging session record during the initialization of the conversation, or whenever a conversation happens, that it will pass through the Omni flow and the details will automatically get populated or updated based on if there is any changes in the status happens. So that's what I have done. So the main purpose is to reduce the credit consumption. So we have flexi credit. We all know, like whenever an action happens, there are 20 flexi credit consumptions takes place. So I thought of this approach. So let's me walk through you the demo. So here I have three status, and this is my contact record, which is a community user. So let me, instead of working, let me go for a completed status user. So three different status present. So let me log into the community user now. So I have been going for image analyzer agent. So inside the site, the conversation started. So agent has left. Let me start a new conversation. So agent has joined. So let me search for account. So something account issues or account request, so whatever. So let me search for account alone. So what we will get. So the account is awaiting approval verification or the next business step. So let me go back to the contacts. I use the contact record. For account, it is a pending. So if go for the metadata, account pending status. So what is the account is awaiting approval verification of the next business step. So this is what we call. So the message which is present in the metadata is getting shown. So would you like the next help with the specific part of the account process? I want to request for contact. So the contact has been recently created and awaiting initial engagement. So let me go to the record. So contact is a new. So we go to the metadata. So here contact, new contact status. The contact has been recently created and is waiting. So these are some of the messages which I have stored in order to show up in the demo point. So let me search user. The user assignment process or request activities has been successfully completed. So the user completion. So the user assignment process or request activities has been successfully completed. So this messages which I have stored in the metadata for getting displayed. So here I didn't use any action. So basically it's only a sub agent. So only the instructions are present along with the messaging setting fields which I have used to store the informations during the conversation being. So let me walk through you through the implementation what I have done. So first I will show the agent. So this is the agent. So which I have. So here I have only one variable. So status description. So this is created in the messaging session object. So this is a linked variable. So once the value is present in the custom field, it will be automatically get stored in this variable in the agent script. So coming to the sub agent, messaging description variable. So here you can see I have only instructions. So based on the description I'm getting and I'm displaying like based on this intent, just play the message alone. Addition to that, I'm asking it to don't do few of the things. So here you can see there's no action present. So that's it. My sub agent doesn't have any action. So it's there are certain misconceptions. Some people think like a sub agent should have an action. It's not a mandatory one. So you can have a sub agent without an action as well. So I have only instructions and there is a variable which is present. So based on the variable details which I got, I am displaying the informations. So how I have done. So what is stored under the status description? So let me go to the flow. So we all know like during the messaging settings creation, we can add the Omni flow. So whatever the conversation happens, it will flow through the Omni flow, then it will go to the agent. So the same approach which I have taken. So during the messaging creation, instead of selecting the agent for service agent and straight away selecting the agent, I have choose Omni flow. The reason is like I need to update the details from the metadata to the messaging session record. So I want a way like which path can I transfer the informations. So this OmniFlow is the medium where I'm getting the metadata record based on the user contact associated status values. I'm checking the metadata record and I'm updating the messaging session description field. So we all know like the current record ID of the messaging session will be passed during every conversation. So through the messaging session record, I'm getting the messaging user. And the messaging user, I'm getting the user record, and from that I'm getting contact. So I have provided a detailed So just given a try how in a step by step we can get. We can straight away, if you have some other fields which is storing the results, we can use a single get element, and I'm getting the metadata records which are present. So all the records, and I am just having certain decisions to check the status, and based on the status, I am adding the messages to a variable. So there are certain other logics, so we no need to consider that. For now, we are just adding the message to the variable. If it is a contact status, then we have a separate variable called contact status message. Likewise, account status, we are having account status message. So likewise here, if we go for user status, this is user status message. So once after adding all those informations, so I am storing all the values to a variable. So here in this variable, I'm storing the value and I'm updating the messaging session record. So inside the messaging session record, you can see the session. So the last create was 106. If you go to the details, so you can see the status description. So based on the contact, so what are the details which we have? For if it is account status, what is the message? If it is pen, if it is new or working or pending, it will get, and it will update the record here. So since it's a static message, so I have tried this approach. So I'm not sure whether this is a good way or is there any constraints in this approach. I'm still exploring on it, but the main objective of this is to reduce the flex credit consumption. So without an action, whether we are able to get the static details and have a conversation with the agent and display the message, so it's somewhat achievable. So I'm still exploring on this part. So if you have any suggestions or anything related to this approach, like this won't work for these cases, so it won't work for certain scenarios, but this is completely a static message. So where based on users contact status, it needs to store a static message. So for that scenario, I have done this approach. So whether if you have any feedbacks or any reviews or any thoughts on this, you can share in the comments. Yeah.